Hey guys, my name is JaxAtlantis, and today we are going to be looking at the full moon in Pisces. And in this special, I'm calling it the Night of 1,000 Fates because there are so many areas of our life that are being directly interacted with on this full moon. The choice to release the fate that we have decided to stay in line with and to instead choose a new path, a path that is aligned with who it is we really are. It's an open opportunity for this full moon. This isn't the time necessarily to say, I want to set a bunch of new goals. This is a time to release all the things that have been holding you back from the goals that are actually important and for living your meaning and living your purpose. So with this Pisces full moon, normally I don't even create videos about the new moons or the full moons, but I had to create a full moon video for this one because the energy from this full moon has been talking to me for days. It's hard to describe exactly. It's just, it's been sending downloads, if you will. It's been connecting with me as I've been looking at other astrology and for surrounding time periods. And a lot of people have a lot of focus on the Mercury retrograde, and I'm going to put almost no focus on that at all. I'm probably going to briefly mention it once. There's a lot that's going on in the undercurrents of the polarity points of the planets right now, and a lot that's going on in the north and south node of the planets. And so I want to talk about how that's going to manifest on this full moon and what that's going to lead to if we take the opportunity to let go of the past and let go of the version of us that has accepted it so far. For example, on the Pisces full moon, we have the sun at 28 degrees Virgo. 28 degree Virgo sun is going to be in a Vigentile with the 10 degree Mercury North node in Virgo. The Vigentile that's being created here is creating a realistic prophecy. And what I mean by that is it's a clear vision of what it is that we imagine we could have each and every day if we had our schedule and our routine and our diet and our exercise exactly how we want it. And this release that's happening here is essentially the release of the should. The release of this idea that, oh, I should do this, I should step into this new rule, I should behave in this way. Because all that really does is hold us back and it adds guilt to the recipe. Whereas instead we can release all of the should and we can release this waiting around for motivation, because there is no motivation coming. There's no motivation coming to save you or to uplift you. Instead, it will be self-discipline at first, and this self-discipline is going to lead to things in your life being generally more pleasurable and better in each and every capacity. And eventually it will start to encourage you and start to feel good in its own, and it will sort of resemble motivation. But there is no motivation that's happening here. And this Vigentile between the sun and the north node of Mercury is going to kind of show you that. It's going to show you, here's what you could start doing right now, even if it's minute. And that's what's been happening in this entire Virgo season, especially as Mars has been transiting Virgo, is it's been trying to push us like, hey, if you start to adjust your daily life, trust me, it will affect your relationships. It will affect the way that you're showing up in relationships. It's going to affect the way that you think and the way that you claim to believe in what it is that you believe in. The way that you believe in the universe and you experience your connection and relationship with the universe, and the way that you have a relationship with this entire world and with the people here connected through our collective unconscious. So this Vigentile might seem like just a flash in the pan. It might seem like just a moment where we envision things being different, and we'll think it's no different than one of our other thoughts. But part of us is going to know that there's something special about it, almost as if there's a Piscean quality to it. And this Vigentile is going to be so important because as we start to imagine how little things changing in our life could start to create, the butterfly effect, of course, and start to add different dimensions and elements to our overall state of being, we'll start to recognize that the future self we desire for ourselves carries each and every one of those traits. And our behavior in the present moment as our future self is the ultimate goal to aim for. It's us being a part of our higher self. But there's more to talk about that when we get to the south node of Jupiter. A lot of people are mentioning the Mercury retrograde right now, and they're talking about how, we might have our ex text us back. But the reality is that's not important. It's not important whether or not some external force from the past, and we'll say that, for example, this ex absolutely is terrible in some way. It doesn't matter if this person texts us or if a difficult situation in our life texts us or reaches out to us. What matters is how we respond to it. What's our emotional, predisposition the moment that we receive that text? How do we respond to it? Do we respond to it at all? And most importantly, if we look at the Pisces full moon at 28 degrees, and we look at its quincunx over to the south node of Venus and the south node of Mars, which are going to be conjunct at 29 degrees Libra, this is a moment where there is this dispelling of this relationship illusion. And with the south node of Venus and the south node of Mars, there's maybe a propensity to say, maybe I, deserve to go back to this person. But it might not even matter. You might have the exact same lack of self-value and the same exact lack of desire to push forward and demand a better deal and to negotiate something better with an entirely new person or with 1,000 new people. It doesn't matter whether or not your ex, whether literal or metaphorical in your life, reaches out to you. If you have the same energy that you were carrying in that relationship, then you might as well get back with them. You might as well, rather than some new person, you might as well just hop right back into it. But this is a night where we can choose to release that in an incredibly powerful way. And what I want you to ask yourself when this crisis pops up between the moon in Pisces, the south node of Venus and south node of Mars in their conjunction, what do you imagine is going to be easier to release? The release of this old way of looking at ourselves and lacking value while we're in the cardinal air of Libra, where things move quickly, where ideas change rapidly and we have new ways of thinking, or when we move into the fixed water of Scorpio. And there's hyper psychoanalysis that happens here, and we get obsessed with things. We get focused on things and fixated on them, and we get stuck on them. It's probably going to be a lot easier for us to release this at the climax of Libra, rather than letting this go on into Scorpio and then letting it, evolve into who knows what. And it might seem like a tempting adventure, but the reality is if we are bringing our true self to the table with any situation, whether it's even with the ex or whether it's with some entirely new person, then the type of relationship we're capable of having is different. So now's the time to do that and to focus that and to release. If there's any part of you that still feels, even if you intellectually know that you shouldn't feel that way, but if there's any part of you that still feels like maybe I don't deserve more, maybe I don't deserve a better relationship, maybe I should sort of keep quiet and not push for something better, then, we're going to be missing out on an incredible opportunity to make this dynamic shift. And it doesn't end there. The full moon in Pisces at 28 degrees is also squaring the south node of Jupiter in Sagittarius at 29 degrees. The square that's happening is incredibly important because it's essentially calling us collectively to, especially for this entire year, to let go of the multi-generational beliefs, belief systems, philosophies that have helped us grow and evolve up to this point, but at the same time have in a way held us back and kept us essentially at the same baseline or perhaps even the same finish line as our predecessors or even our past selves. And so this is the time to step out of that. As this square is happening, essentially it's going to be in some way very emotionally difficult to recognize that we might be holding a belief that we're very attached to, and we're using it to define and sort of view the entire world through. But we have to step into our inner Gemini. We have to begin the classification process ourselves. We have to begin naming things as we see them and looking at what we believe and what we think and what we want to say. We have to step into that Gemini energy as sort of a juxtaposition and a polarity, because if we don't and we instead ignore that square, we ignore the way that that square is directly leading us to the same point where we keep reaching illusions, then we're going to be running into a lot of difficulty. And it doesn't end there either. The full moon is also sextiling Pluto and Capricorn. So not only do we have the way that we're looking at our day-to-day lives with this Vigentile and Virgo, And not only do we look at our relationships different, or at least we have the capability to address what in ourselves is bringing the wrong energy to the relationship. And not only can we look differently at the way that we're sort of exploring our philosophy about life and about what we believe about what we're capable of, at the same time, the Pisces full moon sextile over to Pluto in Capricorn it's not going to demand that we do anything to address how we recognize our own power, especially our own power in context to governmental agencies, or our own power in context to essentially any type of corrupt power system that we might feel rules over us. The thing about Pluto and Capricorn is that, we can either we can engage with the feeling of guilt that we have allowed with our participation or lack of participation, things to go so out of hand. And we can allow these situations to continue to happen to us instead of us happening to them. Or we can engage with the Pluto Capricornian energy, where we allow ourselves in our perception of our power versus the power out there, and the power in a societal sense. And we can say, I'm going to take charge of the government in my own life, the government of my life, the government of myself, and the way that I behave, the way my day goes, the way that my month and my year goes, the way that the next 10 years go, and the forms in which I have the power to do something about that, and the people that I need to be around in order for that to actually be possible. And so during this time, we can sit back and we can essentially say, I don't have this power, or my own power is, found in Venus Scorpio, and I'm just going to kind of withdraw. And I know I have value, but I'll just be valuable over here in this dark space, sequestered away from what it is that I know I can do if I go out into this world and make a difference in it. But first, of course, with the recognition in Pluto Capricorn of how we can take charge of the government of our own lives, we'll be called to create structure and responsibility and consistency for ourselves through our own life that will then lead to making an impact in just our family, or making an impact in just our community. And then we'll have the ability and the right to even consider making some sort of external change out into the bigger world. And during that journey, we might find out that it's not even necessary, because as we've gone on this journey, surprise, surprise, it ends up actually inspiring a lot of people around us, and they start stepping into it too. And before you know it, you don't need to change the world, because the world already changed around you. And the way that you handled reality changed. And at the same time, we look at the Pisces full moon, and it's directly pointing us towards one particular illusion. The Pisces full moon is in a sesquiquadrate with the north node of Neptune at 13 degrees in Leo. And what it's pointing at for us to look at and to take very seriously is what we think is clarity with the north node of Neptune in Leo. What we think is the process of the collective consciousness as the individual reaching its point of self-actualization and taking charge of its destiny. Essentially, are we participating in that, as a sesquiquadrate is going to kind of demand that we pay attention to all of a sudden, and it will be very sharp, and it will be very clear, and it will happen in our mind and in our consciousness, and within our energy space as well. It's going to ask us, are we taking charge of what we're participating in, or are we waiting? Are we waiting for divine intervention? This false north node of Neptune and the illusion that we can potentially release on this night is essentially thinking, well, with this Pluto Capricorn energy, there's governmental structures or powerful forces in this world, or the reptile people, or whatever it is exactly you're blaming it on. And they're big and bad and powerful, and there's nothing that I can do about it. There's no power that I can have. So luckily, I can wait until things get better because of divine intervention. And whether that was the Ragnarok thousands of years ago, whether it was the end of days or Armageddon or the rapture or the modern version, the ascension into the 5D, waiting for a point in time at which the divine will intervene to such a degree where your own responsibility doesn't need to be taken is ridiculous. It's ridiculous in the sense that in the past thousands of years, you could clearly explain how any point in time that a person could live in was the perfect match to the chapter of Revelations in which it's talking about, oh, this is brother fighting against brother and sickness and famine and war. All of this has continually been happening. It will only be our participation with Pluto and Capricorn and our participation as an individual in context to this reality that we're a part of that will lead us to a new place. And it's not going to be easy to do, and it's not about doing it all yourself. It's just being willing to do it at yourself as the unit. But to understand that we also have the North Node of Venus in Leo. And in this energy, we are going to need to surround ourselves with people who actually are also taking charge of their destiny and participating with this energy of self-actualization in its truest, most obvious sense. People around who value themselves and they value the fact that they're authentic. And it's a much smaller group, perhaps, than the friend group that we currently have. Maybe we have 1,000 friends. And when we get to this North Node of Venus in Leo energy, we have 10 friends at this point, or 2. But we have to accept that if we want to actually step into this new energy and release all of these different things, we're going to have to act like it. We're going to have to behave as if we actually believe that. And it's not going to be an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to let go of the comfort zone. But I believe that part of the full moon square over to the south node of Jupiter is directly pointing at this exact same thing that the full moon sesquiquadrating the north node of Neptune is pointing to, which is this illusion that if we just wait around, we just wait it out, then, you know, the divine will take care of it. It'll fix it for us. No worries. There's absolutely no precedent to suggest that. And pointing at one particular part, the idea that, you know, the participation in reality. We are in a reality. There is more to it than just reality. But if you have any belief in astrology at all, then you believe in the 2 signs Virgo and Pisces, which are actually incredibly relevant to this. Virgo is reality, and Pisces is the transcendence of reality. Through reality, it starts out through reality, and it's able to transcend into other dimensions and go other places. But we can't not acknowledge the Virgo reality that we're in, and the way that the mechanics of our daily life actually do matter to the ecosystem of ourself, and the way that the ecosystem of ourself does affect our family, and that does affect the community, and that does affect the world. We have a responsibility. That's what this whole thing is about. Ironically, the release of these false illusions of powerlessness and the taking on of responsibility will be so much more comforting than just waiting around perpetually, waiting for maybe Pluto to go in Aquarius. Maybe it gets a little bit better then. Instead of waiting around, it's time to take action. And that's what I think this full moon is all about. It's about releasing all of these things that we feel are holding us back. And releasing that within ourselves, because it's our responsibility to release that. And it's not easy. There's nothing about it that is safe or conformed. There's nothing about it that there's a guidebook for, which means we are out in the open and we are making these classifications ourselves in a way that's very difficult to do. But at the same time, there's sort of this interesting energy that this full moon, I believe, is kicking off. And it's too much to be coincidental. Venus in Scorpio is going to bisextile Jupiter in Aquarius, and at the exact same time, Mercury is going to bisextile Saturn in Aquarius. And with these 2 bisextiles, from my point of view, the way that I'm interpreting it, I believe that for each and every one of us who do these releases and let these things go, let go of the powerlessness, let go of all these things that are excuses that are holding us back, let go of the illusion entirely, then we will have at least one person in our life, a peer, who will not necessarily be a mentor figure, but they might as well with the type of energy that they're going to activate within us. With this bisextile of Venus-Jupiter, on one hand, this will be someone who tells us we can fly. And with the bisextile of Mercury to Saturn, on the other hand, they're going to just push us out the nest, or they're going to essentially talk to us as if we're absurd for not having jumped out of the nest already. And so we have this simultaneous energy that we're going to be exploring, the energy of someone who exalts us and recognizes our power, because the universe understands and we understand when we, started to connect with this energy in the first place, that we do sometimes need an external support system or a person to to just give us that little extra push. This is going to be a person likely that will come into our lives, or perhaps already is, or perhaps was in your life but distant, and now they suddenly have this strong emergence into your life, and they will be someone who is willing to, with the Mercury biseptile Saturn, they're willing to point out each and everything that is holding you back from your fate, and they're willing to do so probably in a kind of a ruthless manner. But at the same time, with Venus biseptile Jupiter, they're also going to be someone that you know is coming from an honest place. They're coming from a place of the higher ideal. And they themselves, ironically, might experience the exact same energy from you. And so if you think you're not important, and if you think that this situation that is happening in our world right now is just a matter of waiting, or that your own participation or lack of participation can have no effect, it absolutely can. And it's not the same for everybody. It's not going to be the same, you know, for some people it is going to be talking about it. They're going to want to talk about it day in and day out. They want to express it to the world. And that's how they cope with it. That's how they handle it. That's how either they believe they're making their difference, or they really are making their difference that way. And for other people, this is going to be private action. This is going to be things that you can do to start to alter your life and to start essentially acting as your own king or queen and behaving as such. And the word king and queen is thrown around so much these days that it can almost be hard to take seriously sometimes. But the reality is we all have that within us. And the North Node of Venus in Leo is crystal clear. We need people who allow themselves to be exalted in the journey of their destiny, and, you know, to participate with the 1,000 fates that we can have, rather than the 1,000 fates that have held us back thus far. So I hope that this has helped, and I hope that this interpretation of astrology has kind of just pointed you in one particular direction, which is that if you're willing to honestly participate with the full moon energy and let some stuff go, then you're going to have an entire laundry list of different things that start to, you know, improve in your life. But the thing is, there's one odd situation. How do we know which people that are in our life are the North Node Venus and Leo people who are on this journey with us, and which people are the South Node of Venus conjunct South Node Mars in Libra people, the people that perhaps we need to in some way leave behind or walk away from, because they are someone who only participates with that version of ourself that doesn't value ourselves. They only participate with the version of us that will not fight for ourselves. How do we know the difference between these two people? And the honest truth is that you absolutely know the difference between these two people, because one of them's a vampire and they've tried to consume your energy time after time after time, and one of them makes you feel good every time you see them. But it's likely in this last year that you've had scuffles and you've had fights with some of these North Node Venus people. And it might be difficult to overcome pride and to try and create a reconnection, and perhaps it's not even your own responsibility depending on the circumstance. But what I would suggest personally is that we need each and every person that we possibly can find right now who is on this journey with us, even if we've all made mistakes along the way, and to join hand in hand with these energies and to make a difference, of course, in context to the Pluto Capricorn energy that is happening in our collective right now. So I hope that this has helped you guys. I'm honestly not sure if I'm going to, on any consistent basis, do new moon or full moon videos. I had to do this one tonight, as I was saying before. It was really important to me, and it called out and just specifically expressing this particular message and these particular transits. There's a whole lot more interesting things if you look at the astrology for September 20th at 5:55 p.m. Mountain Time. There's some other things going on right now as well, but these ones in particular really stood out to me, and I believe that they were creating a story in kind of a chain. What I do have on this channel, and what I am creating on this channel, is I do daily gratitude tarot videos, which basically is just gratitude tarot and just talking about things to be grateful for. And I'm also doing a series called the Not So Minor Aspect series, where we talk about, some of the aspects we actually talked about tonight, the quincunx and the vigentile and the biseptile. I like to cover these aspects that I don't like ever hear anyone talking about, because I think it's important, and I think that for us to engage with the minor aspects is representative of us engaging with the nuances and the subtleties that happen between the major aspects in life, between solid argument or solid opposition, or coming together in a very literal sense. And so, that's what I like to create on this channel, but I do want to create something more long form. And so I would love it if you guys could comment and let me know some of the ideas that you have, or some of the things. I just want to see what the collective asks for. Maybe you guys want to learn more about the planetary nodes and the current astrology with that, and I could put something together for that. But I was doing daily astrology for quite a while, and weekly astrology for a while, and I don't necessarily want to return to that in the form of the creation of horoscopes. That's not what my energy is about. What I like to do, what I enjoy, in this particular case, for me it felt more like this is a teaching astrology example than it is a horoscope, but that'll be for you to decide. But I like to put most of my energy in the creation of my mentorships, where I teach people how to do astrology privately. And I also have an Astrologer Rising course that's out right now at JaxAtlantis.com. If you guys want to check that out, learn how to be an astrologer, learn how to use this energy and harness it. I personally believe it's incredibly important for the age of Aquarius, that not only are we inevitably going to have more astrologers, but that is actually a very important key role in society that maybe hasn't seemed so important or much of a key role in the past. So I think that's happening and that's evolving. But I'm really glad that you guys were able to stop by today. Comment any questions you have, anything that you essentially want to know or that you want to express about this. And I wish you guys the best of luck on this full moon in Pisces. I don't think you need it though. I don't think you need luck. I don't think that you need to hope for anything. I think that this is a time where if you have any remaining tears to cry, then let them go. If you have any remaining grudges that you are holding on to, let them go. This is the time, and it's easier said than done. But if you at the very least have the clear and pure intention of doing so, you'll see results in the universe, and you'll see results in your life happening for you. So thank you guys, and have an amazing night.